all of this stuff has another caveat of just what is age appropriate. So like you're saying, for this kid that's 11, it's like, how specific are we going to be? Right. So, whereas for an older kid, I would say being more specific is really important, you know? So, when we talk about, what was the exact verbiage? He's never really been corrected. He's told he needs to work on his skating. Like, to your point at the start, it's, what does that mean? He needs to work on his skating. Does that mean he's slow? Does that mean he doesn't skates with straight legs? Does that mean he doesn't know how to extend his stride? Does it mean he can't turn well? Does it mean he can't transition well? Does it mean he whatever? So at that age, I would expect that everything needs to be improved. Where we start to get into the private lesson thing is, if you now realize I have a specific issue, which most kids are not going to realize that. Like, they're going to get some kind of feedback of, you need to work on your skating, and you need a coach to help you to figure out what the actual feedback is. So like, one thing we did with one of the kids that we work with, I remember you and I were trying to design like an off-season program, and the feedback was the like footwork-ish kind of thing, right? And I was asking, because I'm trying to design a program for off ice training. This isn't on the ice. And I'm like, so what is the specific thing that they're talking about? Because like, I don't agree with that feedback when I watch, and I watch very closely. So if I'm going to try to design something for you, I need to know specifically what are we actually talking about, so I can try to address that actual thing. And a lot of times you're not going to get specific feedback, and it's going to be vague. And that's where a private lesson from a coach that actually knows what they're doing can be useful, or some kind of a private session, because they can say, okay, I see from your game that this could be better. And let's go to footwork, for example. Footwork means a million different things. I can see that your transitions in small areas are slow. So that would be transition footwork in small area. That is what the specific thing is to work on within the umbrella of footwork, right? Whereas some kids, it might be, when you get the puck, your acceleration phase is horrible. Like, you're really slow getting up to speed. That's a different set of drills and techniques and training that will address that. Exactly. Right. So whether it's on the ice or off the ice. And so you can do that with any skill. Like, how are you with handling the puck? Like, what does that mean? Like, where, in what spot, which type of game situation are we talking about? Because that's different kinds of stick handling, you know? So, and whatever the skill is, whether it's skating's the easiest example, because it's much more, I think, obvious to see, like, what are we actually talking about? So for a kid that's this age, would you say, this will go into the private thing now, would you say at this age, private lessons make sense versus not? When does it make sense? And then what are your thoughts on kind of that specific type of feedback that you would get from a private lesson on when it's appropriate?
Yeah, well, again, I don't, there's not for sure an answer, because if I was to sit here and say it's too young to get private lessons on skating, that would be not smart, right? Because there's definitely things that you can work on, right? So I'm assuming if someone's not a good, like, having quickness and speed, and not having quickness and speed at 11 wouldn't necessarily concern me, because they're not developed necessarily. Having it at 11 wouldn't necessarily get me all that excited either, because it doesn't mean you're going to be, you might not grow fast enough, you might not have a long stride, all these different things. So yes, you can work on it. So the things that I would definitely want to work on and have someone help me with if I needed skating, and I would say this to anybody, like, you should, if you're going to get lessons, skating would be really good, especially at a young age, because if you can skate, that really helps your hockey game, obviously. So like, are you good at your inside edge work, right? That with good posture and good extensions and good recovery stride, right? That would be good to work on. Is it the most fun thing? Not always. Could be somewhat boring, actually, right? But that's having the maturity to say, okay, I'm doing this to make myself better. Having stride length and learning how to turn properly, and having good posture when you turn, and how to come out of turns, and have leading with your head, stick in the middle, all these different things. Doing it with pucks, that's important. Learning how to use your feet when you're coming out of a dead stop, or trying to accelerate into a 10-foot game or a 15-foot game. Like, all those things are good, but working on like, for example, working on your first few strides in a 10 to get 10, 15 feet, you might not see the results right away because you just haven't hit, you're not strong, like you haven't hit that, your muscles aren't firing the right way yet. You're still young, but learning how to do it just like you would in a gym, learning how to do a movement is helpful. So so that's what I would work on is the mechanic part of it, right? The mechanics of it when you're young, and it'll never hurt you. Um, but then you get like, and of course you're going to get some people that do power skating. It's not really power skating. So like maybe your best coach as a hockey player might be a figure skater. It might be, and I've said several times, I don't know exactly how it trains into hockey skating, but the basics of, the posture and getting stride and using your edges and all that stuff. That figure skaters do that. So a good power skating coach with a figure skating background is probably a good thing. And then, or someone that's played hockey that is a good skater that can teach how they skate and how it feels to be a hockey player, it's good. But to go out there and just do skating drills with, because you see that what's power skating, and it's just like, no, they're skating, they're just skating them with no purpose. So like a good plan helps, right?
Mm. So like I want you to get into a little bit of like your beef philosophy with like the private lessons. So you kind of started to talk about a little bit there how there's just like going and doing skating drills is not the same as learning correct skating. Does that make sense? So just say a little bit more about that and just like in your experience what you see to maybe give some people a little bit more context on kind of what to look for or what to be wary of when they're actually going to get, let's call it a private lesson or a specific training session.
Are you talking for skating?
Or whatever. Yeah. We can use skating, but like, yeah. So
well, I just my opinion of what I've seen a lot of the times is private lessons, several times, because I've done this before. Like, people used to book private lessons with me, and I would always take like higher, like I don't want to say higher end players, but like definitely older where they can mostly understand. And like the first lesson would be like, what is it that you are looking to work on? Oh, I don't know. Wow. There's a lot then, right? So I have a default of going to start with skating and do a progression of stuff. But some coaches would be like, okay, let's just do this. It's like you're not really specifically doing anything. So for me, a private lesson would be like where I think it's very, very beneficial is I'm not concerned about the younger ages. I'm not, like, I mean, because here's why. You have no idea at 11 years old whether your kid's going to be a hockey player or not, whether they're going to get better, whether they're going to like it and stuff. If you want to do it, but I don't see necessarily like a huge benefit in it, because you could shoot pucks at home, right? You can watch videos on how to shoot a puck, but you like I feel like the younger you are, the more you fart around with it, the closer to you get to doing it correctly. And I know a lot of people argue, say, well, you would never say that with, I don't know, whatever other sport. You need a golfer, right? But in hockey, if you shoot enough pucks, you're going to realize if your mind's into it, you're going to get better at it, right? Stick handling, you can do that on your own. You can do all kinds of stuff on your own. You can get rollerblades on and do it, like keeping your head up. All that stuff's fairly simple. Skating, yeah, that's a lesson that if you're just a disaster, that's probably a good thing to do. But where was I going with it? I said when I take older guys. Oh yeah. With the lessons, there needs to be, like, you could do a private lesson for everything. Well, you could be on the ice every day. So I think it gets to a point when you are going into, let's say, a 15, 16-year-old year junior, right? You're not just doing drills. Like a private lesson should be more like something that you need. So if you identify as a player that, your coach said, I need to work on my skating. Okay. Now, first of all, am I a qualified coach for that? Second of all, what, like, as you said, what part of skating are we talking about? If they don't know, then we got to kind of look at it, and we work, you work with that. If it's a junior player that he's just getting chances, like from just this as a skill perspective, right? Maybe you look at some video of, I'm not getting points, and you can look at some video and say, okay, here's what I see why you're not getting in points because you're not going to the net, or you're getting shot opportunities, but your release, it takes 12 hours to get the puck off. So that's a specific thing. We can start working on a shot or positioning and stuff like that. That's where they can apply it to an actual game. Does that make sense? So, I bobble pucks. Like that's a simple fix, right? Like you start sending like hard passes and stuff like that. So, anyways, the more specific you can be, it kind of depends on how old you are, too, right? So, I think older players can see the gaps in their game, especially if they're playing junior, then the coaches could actually give them feedback. So, like if it's partially could be on the ice, partially could be off the ice. But I think if you have a private lesson, you should have a really good idea of what specifically you need to work on, or else you're kind of throwing mud against the wall,
Right.
in my opinion.
So like, okay, two pieces from that then. Would you be recommending that parents or the player, if they're old enough, whatever, goes to the coach and says, "Hey, I'd like to work on this," or are we looking for the coach to be asking what you need to work on, or both? Like in terms
I
of
think both. Like, providing you're not just a nothing but a pain in the ass kid that's pretending to ask questions, right? Because there's a lot of that. It's like, okay, like let's just work on something here. But if you go there and say to a coach with a specific, I feel this, how can I make this better? I would hope a coach can give some feedback and at least give feedback on what they see they can work on. I think coaches should be able to say, then this you get a lot of this through watching the game, seeing them practice, and maybe a little bit of video. You'd be able to pick out some tendencies of a player, and you can maybe see a weakness here and there that you could tell them the worst. Like, because not all coaches are good skills guys, right? So at least address what they see an issue is in their game, a gap in their game that they could go and get lessons with. Um, I would love to say that coaches should be able to spend that, but that's not possible. In a team environment, it's hard to have everybody fix their issues. Now, if you have different coaches, like you got 3, 4 different coaches on the ice, maybe you can do a little bit of that on a skills day, and maybe you can't, right? But the other thing on it is, this is what I find funny about skill development is a lot of the times people believe that doing skill development like a shooting clinic is going to make them going to score more goals, or they're going to get maybe a better shot. It should help you, but there's more than just having a good shot to score goals. It's number one, are you getting in positions to get the puck, to shoot the puck? Right? Is your release decent? Like, is it quick enough to get off? Is the shot hard enough? But a lot of the times it's just how you play the game where you don't get scoring chances, right? So that level of skill development is a whole different skill development than just the skill itself. Make sense? So maybe you don't get you're not getting shots off, or your shots are getting blocked because you're simply coming in a straight line and it's just so easy to defend. Whereas maybe if you entered in a different way, um, and learned how to decelerate, accelerate, pull a puck in, all these different things, maybe you get more shots off. And I'm just using that as a simple example. Maybe you don't recognize that you can create a 2-on-1 to get the puck back or to set someone else up. So like all these different things is a different skill. So you got the skill, but then you got the skill that creates that and creates opportunities and all that stuff. Like I said to you before, right? Like there's skill in just learning your position, right? Learning how to cut angles off. There's shortcuts to a whole bunch of things, and then when you learn those skills, everything else seems to work a little bit better. Like if you go on a 2-on-1, for example, right? If you go, like I'm talking like a long 2-on-1, you're coming in over the blue line, one guy on the right, one guy on the left. It's and a defenseman in the middle. Not all 2-on-1s are the same. So if you have a left-hand player on the left-hand side, right? So me, lefty, with a right-hand shot on the right-hand side, seems simple. You make a decision where the D is, and you either shoot or you pass. But that might be the most difficult one to make, because you're not going to go to your backhand to make a pass. You can't. It's harder to create deception. The guy you're passing to is on his forehand, so he can't open up for a one timer. Whereas if you flipped it, for example, and you're on your off wing, you could come in instead of having the puck in front of you. You can keep it there, or you can pull it back when you open up your body. He can open up or drive the net. So you've just created like 3-4 different options. You know what I mean? So if you don't recognize stuff like that, that's a skill. So if you don't recognize stuff like that, and you wonder why, well, 2-on-1s they just never work, or do you both slow down, or do you both speed up? Like there's all these different things. So that's the type of skill as you get older, skill work that you should be learning, because you can learn how to shoot. Of course, you can take all that stuff and you can learn, if let's say we'll take that 2-on-1 again and we're executing that. Okay, like if I was to shoot, where do I shoot? How do I shoot? What are my options? And then if you get better at that and add all that stuff in, that's a complete skill. And then it's the same thing with, the skill. I know people might not think this, but the skill of back checking or back pressure.
I was just talking about this on the weekend, actually.
Yeah. Like these are the things that a lot of people don't talk about, right? Like Mac and I were talking about that. We want to do a lot of stuff with the kids on that. Is, if you do a 2-on-1 back check drill, so make it a 2-on-2. Okay, what's actually happening? Right? Are the offensive guys playing a one, or making it a 1-on-1, or are they creating a 2-on-2? Are they kicking it wide, taking it to the middle? Are they crisscrossing? Are they isolating it a D? Is the D or the back checker recognizing any of these patterns, and who is he picking up? Are you going to the puck? Like all these different situations, you want to be able to read the game. And that's where true skill development, to me, becomes important. Like you could work wall work all day. Like if you could take a puck off a wall, you could make money at the game. That's very true. But you still have to make a decision with the puck. So you can pull it off the wall. You can send a pizza up the middle every time, or you don't recognize pressure coming at you. Like there's so many scenarios within skill. So you could be the best guy picking a puck off the wall, but you don't know what to do after, right? Or you could be in the slot getting pucks and you worked your shot really well, but your release is so bad that you never get a shot off. Or you pass pucks to, you think you're setting guys up in the for one times and stuff, but then if you really watch, no one's scoring or getting shots off, or they're getting blocked. You look, because most of my passes aren't even close to the wheelhouse. I'm making this guy work to get a shot off. So for me, that's what private lessons are.